Most people have terrible money habits, and even those with high net worths still tend to have bad money habits in at least one area. I myself was guilty. I used to have terrible money habits, and I've spent the last 15 years digging myself out of that never-ending cycle that gets you trapped in bad money habits and actually learning what it takes to really build some serious wealth. Over those 15 years, I've been working primarily in real estate, and I've been building my net worth through real estate investing, business ventures, and other investment vehicles. But again, breaking free from those bad habits can be really, really tough. And surprisingly, there are several that are the most common that people tend to fall into, and I want to explain those today so you guys can save yourself from those bad habits and protect your family and your financial future. So the absolute number one place to start is bad debt. And bad debt can be especially dangerous because it can turn into a never-ending cycle, such as credit cards, where you're not paying it off in time and you just go further and further into debt, especially as it starts to accrue, and it can be really tough to get out of. I've seen so many people get stuck in never-ending credit card debt, and I myself was a victim of it in college when I didn't really know how to use a credit card properly. I got my first one when I was only 18 and didn't exactly know that you're supposed to pay it off every month. But it's not just bad credit cards. I mean, there's bad auto loans out there. I'm sure you've heard stories of people buying a really nice car to show off to their friends and family when they really shouldn't have taken that loan on because they can't make the payments. In reality, you need to get comfortable with debt. Debt can be a great tool to build your net worth, but in order to learn how to use debt to your advantage, you need to first learn how to manage debt and make sure that you're paying it off on time and making consistent payments. If you're one of the people that find yourself getting trapped in the never-ending credit card loop, then it's probably best you don't have a credit card until you get that figured out. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually start on the debit side of things. You can get a debit card and track your balances every month or every week and make sure you're spending less than you're bringing in. Once you've gotten your debit card situation figured out and you're actually making sure that you're not doing any overdrafts, and again, when you sign up for a debit card, make sure you're doing it with a bank with no overdraft fees. But as long as you're not hitting any overdrafts, you're managing your money well, you're sticking to a budget, then you can sign up for your first credit card. I have a video on my channel that talks about credit cards. It also talks about using debt to your advantage, because at the end of the day, you want to learn how to manage the debt so that in the future you can use debt to build your net worth. Debt is extremely powerful in both a good way and a bad way. And just remember that credit card companies don't actually want you to pay on time. That's how they make a lot of money. They make a little bit of money on each transaction, a couple percentage points, but they make the bulk of their income from people not paying their credit cards with exorbitant credit card rates. I mean, the average APR in the US is staggeringly high, and that is what kind of creates that never-ending cycle of people getting stuck in this terrible credit card debt because they make their payments, but it just keeps ballooning because they're not able to make a big enough payment to actually knock it back down. So first and foremost, if you start nowhere else, is to clear bad debt. Once you've done that, you can actually start putting in place the building blocks to get to a higher net worth. And that first building block after you leave the bad debt area is building a safety net. So you've cleared your bad debt, you've paid it all off. Now you gotta start working on your safety net, because that's the next really important structure and foundation to then build your net worth. A safety net for most people is 3 to 6 months of expenses. So that includes your living costs, it includes food, it includes transportation. If you were to lose your job today, how much money do you need to live on for the next 3 to 6 months? And if you work in a job that is a little bit more cyclical or maybe seasonal or tends to have a revolving door, then you may want to have a little bit more runway, such as 8 to 12 months, just in case it's harder for you to pick up jobs when the last one ends. For me, working in real estate, I'm commission based, and there are times where I don't collect a check for a month or two. It's less frequent nowadays, but when I was first starting out and closing less deals, you never knew when you were gonna get paid next. So having a safety net to lean on when I needed to was really important. I still have one to this day. The best and easiest way to set up a safety net is actually number 3 on the list. What a lot of people refer to as paying yourself last. And so what exactly does that mean? Well, let's say you get a paycheck for $100. You have your living expenses, you have your bills, you have all of that. But before you pay all of that, you should be siphoning at least 10%, if not more, into a high yield savings account. Personally, I use Ally Bank. It's super easy, it's online, it's free, and they have a really good savings rates. There's other great savings accounts out there. That's just one that I happen to use. But you want to siphon money and put it into a savings account before you can touch it. So when you're building your life expenses, that money's already gone, right? So if you're figuring out a place to live, you're figuring out food, everything else, you're basing that off of the $90 of income rather than the $100 of income, because the $10 has already been removed. So again, you're protecting yourself by automatically siphoning the cash into a savings account before you can touch it for anything else. Once you have the remaining cash, then you can start to put it into investments or your rent or groceries or utilities or whatever else it may need to go to. And at the very end after all that's been paid for, your investments, your savings, and your actual living expenses, then you pay yourself for what you want to have fun with, which is just expenditures that are the wants category rather than the needs. Maybe it's a new phone, maybe it's new clothing, whatever the case may be, this is the area that you draw from. You don't pull it from the rest of the income. And you sure as hell don't pull it from the savings account that you deducted at the very beginning. So if we go back to number 1 in bad credit card debt, remember, you don't spend what you don't have. So you're not buying things based off of your total income. You're buying things based off of after you've paid your income, you've done your investments, you've paid your cost of living expenses, then you have some money to play with, and that's what you base what you can actually buy on a credit card. So again, you're paying yourself last. You're putting money in savings, you're putting money in investments, you're paying your cost of living, and then you have your money to play with. Now, notice throughout that entire segment, I talked about investments, and that is actually the next point. You should be investing from day one, even if it's only a couple of dollars. A great way to do this is also to automate it, just like the savings. When I was just starting out, not making a lot of money, I automatically siphoned $5 a day into a brokerage account to invest in the stock market. It wasn't a ton of money, but it taught me how to start putting money aside for investing. And even though the returns weren't major, they were still nice at the time. I mean, they were great. And by that money automatically leaving my account to go towards the investments, it was gone. I wasn't able to spend it on something stupid that I would regret someday because the money's already in my investment account. As you guys know, based on my videos, I use Robinhood, but there's other ones out there. There's even robo-investors such as Betterment and Wealthfront that'll do all the investing for you so you don't have to think about it. And you can set up automatic daily, weekly transfers that come straight out of your bank account, or you can even have it where a portion of your paycheck goes directly into those accounts and get invested right away from those robo-investors. So you don't even have to think about it. You can tell them how much risk you want to take on. You can be super conservative, or you can be a little bit more risky if you want the money to work for you. It's a great way to just start investing and making sure that you're actually putting money into an investment account that you're not going to touch. So now you have a long-term savings account built as your safety net. You have an investment account that's growing daily or hopefully weekly at least. And then you have all of your other expenses, which is the next section. So income and expenses, let's talk about that. Because as you mature and as you grow with your career, your job, and as your income really starts to balloon, a lot of people get in hot water by basically matching their expenditures with their income. But if you can keep your cost of living and your expenditures level or growing at a much slower rate than your income, you're gonna be in a much better situation. I'm sure you've heard of lifestyle inflation. That usually comes along with a nice raise or a nice jump in salary. And it's really easy to inflate your lifestyle as you start making more money. But if you can really use some self-control and keep your finances in check and keep your monthly expenditures down or in line with where you are today, as your income continues to grow, you're gonna be in really great shape. You're gonna have all this extra income to now go invest or buy real estate or start to actually have it work for you rather than just spending it on everyday items that you really don't need. After all, how many people in your life have you seen as they got a new job, as they got a new career, they started buying nice cars, nice clothing, nice jewelry, things that they really don't need, but they just wanted to show off that they're making more money? Well, at the end of the day, if you have the same trajectory, but you're now sinking it into real estate, you're sinking it into the stock market, you're sinking it into other great investment vehicles. And by vehicles, I'm not talking about actual drivable vehicles. I'm talking about assets that are tangible, that you can really invest in. Well, it may be hard for them to see today because those investments are just starting, but 10, 20 years from now, you're gonna be in a much better situation than your friends are because they're buying things that are gonna depreciate and lose value over time, and you're buying things that are going up in value and providing a return on your capital. So again, as your income grows, keep expenses the same or roughly the same, and make sure they're not growing at the same pace. You wanna make sure that expenses are staying here and your income's going up. And that falls into the next category, which is just spending in general. Something that you should be doing every month is going into your credit card or your spending statements and seeing what all are you spending your money on and where are you spending money that you don't really realize you're spending a lot of money, such as subscriptions. There are so many streaming subscriptions nowadays, workout subscriptions. It seems like everything nowadays makes you pay a monthly fee, and you really want to add up all those fees and see how much money you're paying because it can really add up quickly. On top of that, there's other conveniences nowadays that didn't exist back in the day, such as food delivery apps. A lot of people spend a lot of money on food delivery apps. I mean, these meals are $30, $50 plus for just one person, when in reality, they could hop in their car and go get the food, bring it back, and probably save $20 to $30. Or they could cook. But again, it's little things like that. Even if you're only doing it once or twice a week, it adds up, right? If you multiply that by 52 weeks out of the year, it's a lot of money. So between Spotify, Uber Eats, Apple Music, all your streaming and Netflix and everything else, it can add up to a lot of money. So those are like the sneaky hidden fees that you really got to watch out for. And the best way to do that is just go into your monthly statements and see how much money you're spending on each one of those. But another area is just spending on things that you don't really need, right? It's just a want or something to show off. Just keep yourself in check and make sure that you're not spending more than you really need to. There's a lot of free software out there, such as mint.com, where you can actually track each category for your spending. You can come up with budgets. I used to do them in Excel when I was first starting out just to make sure that I was staying on top of everything. And the best part about a budget is once you learn the budget, you don't have to track it every day after you've learned it. because you're gonna start to remember, oh, this category I'm spending way too much, or this category I allowed myself this much for food this week, and it seems like I'm going over. Over time, you'll start to have little mental reminders that'll keep you in check, so you don't have to check the software daily. But when you're first starting out and you're just starting to budget, it's definitely a great way to stay organized to use something like that. In the last bucket, number 7 is taxes. A lot of people spend more money on taxes than they need to. You can go with a general tax advisor when you're first starting out, but as your wealth and income starts to grow, and especially when you start investing in assets like real estate where there's a lot of tax advantages, you're gonna wanna hire a good tax advisor that can help guide you through some of the tax strategies that exist for you in your area. It's different across the world, and it's different even by zip code. So unfortunately, I can't really cover too much in the video, but there's a lot of tax advantages out there that, especially if you own a business or you start growing your income or you have passive income in real estate, there's a lot of tax strategies out there that will save you a ton of money. So definitely make sure you look into those if you haven't already. Well guys, those tend to be the top 7 biggest money mistakes that people are making, and a lot of them are very easy to avoid. So make sure you're keeping tabs on all of them. Be tracking your expenditures, be tracking your income, and really start setting aside money for a rainy day fund, a safety net, as well as investing if you haven't started to do so already. Again, robo-investors are a great way to start, so you can start learning where they're putting your money, and then as you get a little bit more skilled and you get a little bit more educated on the subject, you can start doing your own investing. Real estate is a great investment for most people. I have a ton of videos on my channel all about real estate investing and how to get started in that. But at the end of the day, managing your money is just that, it's your money. So you need to take it on yourself, and you really need to get a hold of it. If you have bad money management skills, you need to educate yourself and break free from those bad habits, because nobody else is gonna do it for you. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching. I post a lot of content like this, so please consider subscribing. But anyway, that's it for today's video, and I'll see you next time.